Probably the most popular comments that I see in the comment section here on YouTube are, when will this blistering heat spell stop across the eastern United States? Well, in this video, we're going to kind of look at the upper pattern. We're going to show you what's going on, what I think is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. Still think there is some snow. It may take some time to get that, and we're going to look down the road because I think things are changing. It may take a little while, but I do think there will be some changes as we see clearly the seasons change, but I think the weather pattern starts to shift up too. Hope you're doing well, guys. It is Monday, November 4th in the evening. My name is Travis Roberts. Thanks for watching. I'm a former TV chief meteorologist. For those of you who are new to the channel, a lot of you subscribing, thanks very much. We're on our way close to 10,000 subscribers on this very small channel here, so thank you so much for subscribing. Now, let's get to the weather. It's what you're here for tonight, right? Let's start with what's going on across the Central Plains states. Severe weather will start to settle down as we head into early Tuesday morning. There still could be a few strong storms here out ahead of our front. A lot of energy, though, lifting toward the Great Lakes as our low pressure wraps up here. More severe weather on the way as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Storm Prediction Center highlighting this area of Wisconsin. Yes, there could be some tornadoes here. I'll show you in just a second. Also here along the Gulf Coast as our front moves to the east. A lot of wind shear here out ahead of our front, and I think it would really start to pick up at least in intensity as we head into the afternoon and evening hours here across Wisconsin, and then again to the south as our squall line pushes off to the east. That moves pretty quickly off to the northeast as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. The showers really kind of dying out as these move off to the east. Rain showers moving into Michigan all the way south into really the Mississippi Valley. You can see how this front kind of stalls out. It gets moisture starved, and that's kind of it. We do have some moisture now moving into parts of Georgia, though, as we see that tropical moisture start to push to the north. That could bring some heavy rain for parts of Georgia, South Carolina, maybe even Florida, too. We are looking at the tropics right now. The National Hurricane Center looking at Rafael, expected to move off to the north. The forecast is for this to become a hurricane and then make landfall somewhere near Cuba. I want to show you why I think this is going to weaken as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. First of all, it's going to encounter some wind shear here that will start to rip the storm apart. But another thing too, the ocean temperatures, this is more like it. We'll get to that in just a second. That's why I think the storm pattern is all out of whack across North America. But let's go to the Gulf right now. This is where we were almost a month ago, right? Look at this cooler water. This is where we are today. So very unfavorable here as we've seen the sun get less strong, the days are getting shorter, and therefore the water is cooling off. And that's part of the reason why, again, the forecast is for this to weaken. However, it's still something that you got to watch. The forecast track is for this to move off to the north. Even though it's expected to weaken, it's still something that could be impactful. Again, a lot of consensus that this thing is headed toward Cuba, and then once it gets here into the Gulf, notice how the model odds are really getting spread out here because there's not a lot of steering currents here. This thing could move a bit to the northeast. It could meander back to the west a little bit. Either way, again, remember in this area that I showed you, water temperatures here a little bit cooler again than where we were, say, a month ago, where we had much more options for tropical development here, especially back into September, late September into October, but that is pretty much gone here. Now, as promised, let's talk about what's going on here in the North Pacific. I've been talking about this for the last several days, and even as of this weekend, we're still looking at that warmer than average water just to the east of Japan. Over Alaska here, cooler than average water temperatures, plus it has been super cold here. So now you've got this big temperature contrast, and that's one of the reasons we've seen these huge storms blow up here. This is the long range ensembles. We're going to look at this going into the next week or so. I don't think we cool down in the east. If you ask when is it going to break, I don't see it in the foreseeable future. The next chance would be with this trough that starts to swing in, say around the 11th and the 12th. I know we're looking long range as we get a little bit of ridging up here in Alaska. What goes up must come down. So we start to see some troughing that tries to dig into at least the central part of the country. And this may actually bring some colder air a little bit further south than what we've seen lately. Does this actually happen? I don't know. Right? But the odds of this happening are starting to increase, I think. Your polar vortex up here, your jet stream starting to dive to the south a little bit. Either way, I think a bit of a cool down, but the long-term pattern, even when you look at the ensembles, bring the heat, the above average temperatures back to the central and eastern United States as we head towards the 17th and 18th with that cold pattern setting up across the west. When does it break? I don't know, man. I'll tell you one thing. It just looks like it's holding on. Let's look at the stormy pattern that we're in too. First of all, these cyclones, these mid-latitude cyclones have just been wrapping up here across Alaska. They've been bombing out over and over again, and that's going to continue this week. Some heavy snow possible also across the Rockies. I'm going to back this up just a little bit. There goes our storm now moving through the Great Lakes into Canada at this point. There's your front dragging to the south, and there's the snow across the west. Some of that snow could get heavy. Mississippi, into the Colorado Rockies, maybe even a little bit further to the south into the mountains of New Mexico. We could get some decent snow out of this. This is starting to look impressive by Thursday and Friday. And then there would be your tropical system, Rafael, moving into the Gulf of Mexico. Again, this would be the operational run, bringing it ashore here close to coastal Mississippi and Alabama, Louisiana, somewhere in that region. But I think all interest here from the Florida coast all the way to Texas need to watch this. This would be interesting, though. I think whatever forms, if we end up seeing this kind of pattern by the weekend, that moisture would likely get picked up pretty quickly here by this upper low back to the west and moving it north fairly rapidly. Okay, I don't think we're looking at a Helene repeat. This is not the same setup by any stretch, but it could bring some heavy rain. And in fact, some of these areas really need some rain. I know it's hard to imagine after the devastating flooding that we've seen, but it's like we got the huge rain and then it stopped raining for a month or more in some areas. The stormy pattern just is relentless across the west, guys. Look at this, another storm, and then there's another one, and then there's another one behind that one. It just keeps pounding the west coast. What does it look like long range? Let's just roll the GFS out. I laugh at these things. I don't know. This is a blizzard for the Central Plains states. Yeah, come on, guys. That's probably not going to happen. That's dream world. But what I look at is the pattern, and I think we're starting to see some troughiness try to set up here, again, towards the central United States by the 19th and the 20th. Does that drop us below average? I don't think it does. It may just put us maybe closer to where we should be. But overall, I think the pattern stays warm. Let's talk about some snow, though, where it's not warm across the west. This is what we're looking like through Wednesday. 10, 15 inches of snow. Certainly not out of the question here into the mountains of Colorado and New Mexico. Also more snow up here into parts of Washington, Montana, down into parts of Wyoming, even as far south as, again, New Mexico and Arizona. A little bit of snow here in the mountains. And we're going to get more snow, too, as we head into the weekend, as another system drops in. This would be our system as we move into Monday and Tuesday, first across the Pacific Northwest, putting more snow down here into the Rockies. And then there goes your dream snow, right? That clearly, yeah, y'all, this isn't happening. But interesting to look at to see the models getting that weird feedback stuff going on here as we head toward the end of the month. But I'm feeling confident, though, pretty good about some heavy snow again here and to Colorado and New Mexico over the next couple of days. And then the European weeklies are still showing a tremendous amount of snow across the west. I don't think that changes. And here's a quick look, too, at the ice and snow cover across the North Pole. Here is the North Pole. Now we're looking over here toward Asia. This is where we were last week. We have seen this ice fill in here north of Siberia, but I want to show you where we are today. Really, this would be Sunday. So 1 week ago, watch it expand. Boom. We are definitely seeing more snow here into parts of the Canadian prairies. Not a lot of snow, though, right? You have to get up into Alaska, but that ice sheet starting to expand further south. And once I think we close this gap, you really seal the deal for getting some of that colder air from Siberia across into Alaska and then even further south. But right now, with this open water, you're still modifying that cold air as it moves across that open warm water. So really, until that fills in, I think the cold air, while it is building here, it's going to be limited to what can form here. Once we seal that up, it's on. All right, that's all I got. See you next time.